Amanda Reynolds was folding laundry when she found the lipstick stain that shattered her world. Tyler Reynolds was closing a $1 million deal while hiding a double life soaked in blood. Brooke Matthews thought she had found love until she uncovered a secret so dark it nearly cost her everything. What began as a simple betrayal unraveled into a twisted true crime tale of deception, obsession, and murder. Amanda Reynolds had spent her entire life building what she thought was the perfect future. Growing up in a small town just outside Atlanta, she'd always dreamed of something bigger, better. When she met Tyler during a networking event in the city, it felt like fate. He was tall, articulate, confident, the kind of man who didn't just talk about success, he lived it. Within a year they were married. Within 5, they were homeowners in an upscale neighborhood, expecting their first child, and seemingly living the kind of life others envied from a distance. To the outside world, Amanda had everything. She was a respected real estate agent, known for her charm and work ethic, and Tyler was climbing the corporate ladder with a major investment firm. Their house had a white picket fence, freshly painted shutters, and a nursery painted in soft hues of mint and ivory. Friends called them couple goals. Social media followers adored their weekend getaway photos, cozy movie nights, and carefully curated baby bump updates. But behind the curated images and well-staged smiles, Amanda had begun to notice cracks, small hairline fractures that others might not have seen. Tyler had started working late more often. At first, it was once or twice a week. Then it became nearly every night. He'd come home after midnight, sometimes with excuses, sometimes without. When Amanda asked gentle questions, he brushed them off with frustration or silence. She told herself not to overthink it. Stress at work was normal. She was pregnant. Maybe her hormones were just making her overly sensitive. And yet, a quiet unease had started to grow in the pit of her stomach. Something didn't feel right. One morning, as Amanda folded laundry in the guest room, she picked up Tyler's white dress shirt, the one he wore on Mondays. Her hand froze. There, on the collar, was a small but undeniable smear of deep red lipstick. It wasn't a faded stain, the kind that gets picked up at a party or left over from a quick hug. It was fresh, intentional. Amanda didn't own lipstick. She hadn't worn makeup in months. She stood still for a long time, staring at it like it might disappear if she looked hard enough. But it didn't. It was real. And it told her everything she needed to know. There was no confrontation, no screaming match, no dramatic accusations. Amanda didn't even tell Tyler she had seen it. Instead, she calmly placed the shirt in the laundry basket, picked up her phone, and made 2 calls. The first was to her obstetrician to reschedule her checkup. The second was to a divorce attorney. In that moment, Amanda wasn't just hurt. She was done. She didn't know who the other woman was. She didn't know how long it had been going on. But she knew enough. Enough to protect herself, enough to protect her unborn child, and enough to understand that the man she had married was not the man she thought he was. While Tyler went about his days as if nothing had changed, Amanda quietly set her plan in motion. She didn't confront him. She didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. Instead, she started gathering information, documents, financial statements, shared passwords. The more she looked, the more she realized how much Tyler had kept hidden. It wasn't just late nights and lipstick. There were bank transfers she didn't recognize, charges from places he claimed he never went, and hotel receipts for dates when he told her he was at work conferences. It was all there, in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered. The divorce attorney she hired recommended a private investigator, someone discreet, someone who'd seen this type of man before. Amanda agreed. Within days, the investigator started trailing Tyler's movements. He wasn't hard to track. He had patterns, routines, and just enough arrogance to believe no one would ever be watching. Within a week, the truth came out. Tyler was leading a second life. He had rented an apartment on the other side of town under the name Evan Brooks. It wasn't a temporary escape or a random hookup spot. It was fully furnished, complete with clothes, toiletries, and personal items. There were framed photos on the walls, none of which included Amanda. Instead, the pictures showed him smiling alongside a young woman, Brooke Matthews, a yoga instructor 10 years his junior. Brooke looked happy, unaware, fully immersed in the world Tyler had created for her. The investigator gathered everything: photos, surveillance logs, even a video of Tyler kissing Brooke goodbye outside the apartment, before heading back to Amanda's house. When Amanda was shown the evidence, her hands trembled, but she didn't cry. She had already made the hardest decision. This only confirmed it. According to records, Brooke and Tyler had been seeing each other for close to a year. They went on weekend trips together, dined at restaurants Amanda had never heard of, and even hosted small gatherings at the apartment. Tyler told Brooke he was a freelance consultant, unattached and independent. He'd carefully crafted a persona that made it easy to hide his real life. Brooke wasn't just a fling. She was a full part of his double life. But what neither woman knew was that there was more beneath the surface, something far more sinister than infidelity. Amanda shared the findings with her lawyer, who expedited the divorce proceedings. Papers were served while Tyler was at work. He returned home that night to find Amanda gone. No note, no confrontation, just silence. Brooke, on the other hand, was left in complete shock when she discovered Tyler's real name through a news article about the divorce. She hadn't even known his true identity. But while the affair had been exposed, the story wasn't finished. The apartment Tyler kept so carefully hidden wasn't just a place for romantic rendezvous. Its secrets ran deeper, much deeper, and soon one of them would come seeping through the walls. It started with a leak. The tenant living below the apartment Tyler had rented under a fake name reported water damage on their ceiling. A maintenance crew was dispatched to investigate what was assumed to be a simple plumbing issue. The superintendent, used to clogged pipes and busted valves, wasn't expecting what they found behind the wall. When the drywall was removed, there was more than just water damage. There were dark stains spreading across the insulation. They didn't look like mold, and they didn't smell like mildew. A maintenance worker called his supervisor, who immediately contacted the police. Forensics arrived the next morning. What was first believed to be an internal plumbing leak turned out to be human blood. The entire section of insulation was saturated. The lab confirmed the presence of type B negative blood, a rare type. There was no accident. This was a crime scene. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Though no body was discovered inside the apartment, the dogs signaled multiple alerts, especially in the closet, behind the wall panel, and near the bathroom drain. It was clear something terrible had happened there. A deeper investigation led to a missing persons match. Rachel Monroe, a 32-year-old woman, had been reported missing 4 months earlier. She had last been seen at a wellness retreat located only 30 miles from the apartment. One of the instructors at that retreat was Brooke Matthews. Detectives began putting the pieces together. Rachel and Brooke had worked together part-time. They weren't close friends, but their lives had clearly intersected. When Tyler's photo was shown to a few employees from the retreat, someone recognized him, not as Tyler Reynolds, but as Evan Brooks. He had visited the retreat several times, posing as a potential investor interested in launching a luxury wellness resort. No one had seen him again after Rachel disappeared. With the new forensic evidence, investigators obtained a full warrant to search the apartment. Behind a loose panel in the closet, they found traces of hair, duct tape residue, and fingerprints, matching Rachel's. Drain tests in the bathroom revealed more of her blood. It was now clear. She had died inside those walls, and Tyler had made sure no one ever found out. What puzzled detectives most was how someone like Tyler had managed to maintain such a calculated front. His career, his marriage, his affair, none of it seemed haphazard. He had gone to extraordinary lengths to keep each life separate. But he'd made mistakes. The water damage had started everything, and now there was no turning back. News of the apartment's dark secret broke quickly. Amanda, now in her final trimester, was contacted by police. She hadn't known anything about Rachel Monroe, but learning that her soon-to-be ex-husband might be a killer shook her to the core. Brooke, already reeling from the discovery of Tyler's real identity, was forced to confront the chilling possibility that the man she had loved had murdered someone they both knew, and that she could have easily been next. Brooke couldn't sleep. Ever since the police contacted her about Rachel Monroe, her mind had been spinning in circles. She kept playing back every moment she had spent with Tyler, every laugh, every trip, every late-night conversation, trying to see the monster behind, the man. Nothing made sense. She had believed him, trusted him, and even imagined a future with him. Now she was being told he wasn't just a liar but possibly a murderer. And the apartment they had shared, the place where she had felt so close, to him was now an active crime scene. But there was one thing the police didn't know yet, something Brooke hadn't told anyone. A week before everything unraveled, Tyler had seemed different. Not just distracted or distant, but paranoid. He would double-lock the doors, unplug electronics, and once even accused her of going through his things. He started sleeping with a knife beside the bed and warned her not to ask questions that could ruin everything. She had thought it was stress or anxiety. Now, she wasn't so sure. Driven by fear and the need for answers, Brooke returned to the apartment, escorted by police. Most of the unit had been torn apart during the investigation, but one area hadn't been fully searched. The top shelf of the bedroom closet, which had a false ceiling panel. She remembered Tyler placing a box up there once and telling her it was just old tax stuff. With permission, she climbed up and opened it. Inside was a locked metal container. Police broke it open immediately. What they found chilled everyone in the room. The box held several women's driver's licenses, none belonging to Brooke or Amanda. Among them was Rachel Monroe's. Alongside the IDs were pieces of jewelry, a set of keys, and a memory card taped underneath the lid. Brooke stepped back, unable to breathe. The memory card held a series of time-stamped photographs. In them was Rachel, alive, terrified, and clearly restrained. She was photographed in various corners of the apartment, with her wrists bound, looking straight into the lens. The timestamps were from the same week she vanished. The final image was dark and blurry, with a faint silhouette of Tyler's face in the corner. Detectives now had the evidence they needed to move forward. Tyler was arrested at his office 2 days later without incident. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. His only reaction came when he saw Brooke's name listed as one of the witnesses. He paused, smirked faintly, and turned his head away. Brooke gave a full statement to the police, detailing everything she remembered, the shifts in his behavior, the lies about his job, and the moment she realized her life had been a carefully constructed illusion. She also admitted how close she had come to moving in with him full-time. The thought made her sick. In the days that followed, the media descended. Tyler Reynolds became a household name for all the wrong reasons. But for Brooke, the most terrifying part wasn't that he had killed someone. It was knowing she had slept beside him night after night, completely unaware of just how close she had come to vanishing too. Amanda watched the trial unfold from a distance, tucked away in a quiet town several hours from the city she used to call home. She had given birth to a healthy baby boy just 3 weeks before the trial began. Despite the whirlwind of emotions and the media storm surrounding the case, her focus remained on her son and protecting the future they still had ahead. She declined all interview requests, ignored calls from reporters, and instructed her lawyer to keep her name out of the headlines as much as possible. But silence didn't mean she wasn't paying attention. Inside the courtroom, the evidence against Tyler Reynolds was overwhelming. Prosecutors laid out a timeline backed by surveillance footage, financial records, digital forensics, and Brooke's testimony. They presented the blood-soaked insulation, the recovered photographs, and the box of IDs. It painted a terrifying picture of a man who had lived in layers, each one carefully controlled, each one hiding a truth more dangerous than the last. The prosecution labeled him a predator in plain sight, a man who had deceived everyone who ever trusted him. Tyler's defense team struggled. Their arguments bounced between suggesting Tyler had been framed to claiming Rachel Monroe's death had been accidental, but the jury wasn't convinced, especially not after hearing the forensic pathologist's report, which concluded that Rachel had suffered blunt force trauma and likely died in the apartment within 24 hours of the last photo being taken. The suggestion of an accident was quickly dismissed. Amanda's voice entered the courtroom not through testimony, but through a letter read aloud by the prosecutor before sentencing. She wrote of betrayal, not just romantic but emotional, psychological, and moral. She had built a life with Tyler, carried his child, and supported his dreams, only to learn that he had hidden a part of himself so dark she couldn't recognize the man she had once loved. Her words were calm but powerful. She wrote not as a woman scorned, but as one who had survived something quietly horrifying. The judge delivered a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Tyler showed no emotion. He stared straight ahead, hands folded, jaw locked. He didn't look at Brooke, and he didn't ask about Amanda. His silence was the final act of a man who had always kept his truest self hidden, even at the very end. Brooke left the courtroom quietly, escorted by friends. She disappeared from public view shortly afterward, reportedly leaving the state. Amanda, meanwhile, moved forward with her life under a new name. She sold the house, cut all ties with Tyler's former circle, and never spoke publicly about the case again. But people remembered. They remembered the story that started with something so small, just a stain of lipstick, and unraveled into a nightmare no one saw coming. Amanda's decision to leave without hesitation had not only saved her life, but possibly Brooke's as well. Sometimes one moment of clarity is all it takes to walk away from a monster.